It is 19 minutes past 9, and thank you for keeping us company. Hi, Dida Doshi. How are you doing? Thank you, darling, for keeping it locked and then also just sending your frustrations around the housing levy. Let me just see what she's been saying. I think I'm a complaint sana. Akisema, everyone is living in a harsh condition. Teachers, police officers, and kisingizio ati nyumba hizo zichukuliwe kwa manufaa yao. Nyumba hizo kila mtu ana haki ya kuishi humo ndani. Mambo ya kuregister waiwache. Just the same way they forced themselves into Kenyans on doing house levy, they should also let Kenyans decide who should own the houses. The president should stop deciding on who should own the houses. That's a very disgruntled Mwananchi. Yeah, we were talking about housing levy a while ago, but we also spoke about Social Health Authority and also the desire for impeached deputy president to go back to the ballot and become the president one more time.
If he can.
In studio, we do have an advocate of the High Court, that is Titus Mukanzi. Titus, good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm well. Good to have you here one more time.
Thank you.
So I want to start with Titus. We want to look at he's called it a march that took place on Friday, where the advocates took to the streets and to condemn the gruesome murder of one of them, Kielom Bobu, and also they're calling for a speedy investigation on the matter. Before we get on that, Titus,
yes,
the former deputy president, can he still vie for a political seat? Can he still vie for the presidency, owing to the fact that he was impeached?
For as long as the position remains that the former deputy president is impeached, he cannot vie for a position until that time when the High Court will vary, or rather give a declaration that the procedure followed during his impeachment was not lawful. I understand that the impeached deputy president has challenged that process in court, and the case is still active. It is until that time when the court will render its decision, and the decision to be to the effect that it pronounces itself to say that the procedure was not followed, or some aspects of the law were ignored, thereby discrediting the procedure. It's when the deputy president can offer himself to be considered as a candidate in an elective position.
Yeah. So right now, okay, so it could go either way. When you're saying the matter is still in court, it could go either way.
Exactly. The matter could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you understand that the impeached deputy president has sued, including the Senate, the National Assembly, that oversaw the impeachment process. And so if the court rules in his favor, it means the impeachment was not fair, or it was not lawful, or it was unprocedural.
Yeah.
And so the tag impeached deputy president ceases to exist, and he now becomes eligible to offer himself to run for a position.
Yeah.
But if the court was to give a decision and it goes against the impeached deputy president, then it means the court will have affirmed that indeed the law was followed, the procedure was observed, and everything that pertains to that impeachment was according to how the law has prescribed. And if that happens, then he remains with the tag of an impeached deputy president. And the position remains that he will not be eligible to offer himself for an elective position.
Hizi kelele, kwa hivyo hizi ni kelele anatupigia. I offer myself, I declare, I will. Ama ameforesee uamuzi wa mahakama.
Of course.
I'm wondering. He's just standing on top of cars. I'm declaring I will be in the ballot.
But give it to him. The impeached deputy president is a formidable politician. And as a lawyer, as an advocate, I have seen this. When you are representing your clients in court, always you want to believe that the case tilts to your favor.
Yeah.
So I would understand why he is offering himself prior to the pronouncement by the court, of course he needs to prepare, he needs to consolidate his support so that once the pronouncement is here and it is to his favor, then he is not wasted time. Other than him staying and waiting for the declaration, which might come late in the day, and he wouldn't have time to prepare. He would rather prepare, and if the decision is not in his favor, then possibly support anyone else within their formation of the opposition leaders.
Kiufupi unasema wakili anatengeneza ground for future use.
Kabisa.
It could go either way.
No, future here means even the day after the pronouncement by the court, which can even be, say, late this year, early next year. Okay. I don't think that decision will come soon. Take too long before it arrives. Yeah, considering this was filed immediately after the impeachment, which is over a year ago now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so let's look at the shooting of the Kenyan lawyer, that is Titus Mukanzi, who was shot. He was in a drive-in shooting, in a drive-by shooting on a busy street in the capital city of Nairobi. So that is Matthew Kialombobu, a respected lawyer and former head of political party's dispute tribunal. He was driving home on Tuesday evening when a gunman on a motorcycle pulled alongside his vehicle and opened fire. Witnesses reported hearing multiple gunshots. So when this happened, and then the following day on the paper, there was a report of how he was involved in certain activities, right?
Yeah.
And there was a big highlight on the Standard newspaper that detailed the cases that he was being sued for, right?
Yeah.
The debt that he had accrued, that he had amassed, the corporate organizations that he owed, those detailed to that.
Yeah.
On Friday also there was a march by the team from, is it the Law Society? Yes, there was a march by the team from the Law Society. Talk to me about this march.
Yeah.
Why it happened, before we get into how investigation takes place in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will start by commenting on the newspaper headline that happened sometime last week. I would call that headline as very unfortunate for these reasons. After our senior colleague, Mr. Mbobu, was killed, our expectation was that every other sector or professions within the country would join in the calls by the Law Society of Kenya to call for speedy investigations and bringing to book of the persons involved. To us, it was very unfortunate for the media house to have found it best suited to bring up personal issues of our deceased colleague, because in my opinion, it does not in any way have a connection to his killing, not unless and up until when the investigative bodies link his personal or private life to the gruesome killing. And this begs the question, if, as according to the newspaper headline, that the deceased Mr. Mbobu was owing certain entities some money, the other question would be, would a solution to someone being indebted to other people be death? So that if today anyone owes any other person or entity money, would the solution be death? Because that newspaper seemed like it justified the killing, so that anyone reading that newspaper would have a conclusion that this lawyer was killed because he had debts. But we understand, even according to the law, anyone who has debts is pursued to pay debts. And if they cannot pay debts, then there are other options, including execution proceedings, where someone can be auctioned of their properties. And even when someone is unable to meet their obligations as regards paying of debts, we have provisions in the law that speaks to committing someone to civil jail. We had not seen this being explored by whoever the newspapers were alleging were being owed money by the deceased, Mr. Mbobu. So I find that headline as a sensational one, probably made for business purposes by the media houses to sell newspapers or something of that sort. But it has a very negative impact with regard to the investigations, because it gives an insinuation to whoever is investigating, or even the perception of the public, that this lawyer was killed because he had debts. If that was taken to be the position, I think most of us would be killed in a day, because people have debts out here, ranging from Fuliza, Mshwari, banks, Shylocks, microfinances, you know.
Would you say that that particular media house was driving an agenda?
I wouldn't want to be like them and speculate.
Yeah.
But it would be easy for someone to have such a conclusion that if someone has been killed in such a cold way, and the following day, instead of calling out investigative bodies to speed up investigations, you want to investigate private life of a deceased person who cannot defend themselves. You see, matters of death, they usually someone would have something to say about them. Either I paid, I was not cleared. Either the accounts needs to be reconciled. Instead of 20 million, it needs to be 18 million I had paid. You see, and now this media station is taking a position when the deceased cannot defend himself.
Would that report hurt or help the investigation? What impact would it have on the investigation?
Personally, I think it would have a negative impact, to the effect that persons charged with the responsibilities to investigate such activities are human beings like us. When they get to read such things, it might dissuade or persuade their minds to think along those lines, that possibly this person was killed because of the deaths. And if you remember what's happened a few days ago, a number of people were arrested in connection with that murder, and they were all released.
Yes.
It tells you something. Possibly the police or the investigative agencies followed wrong links, because they went ahead and arrested persons who had talked to the lawyer before his death, neighbors. So you would possibly see there is a trail, that a negative trail of investigation, where you arrest people and in a day or two you release all of them. They are already missing the point. And I would conclusively say that such a media station might have contributed to such mishaps. Until either today morning or yesterday, the investigative team is being changed now by the DCI. They are bringing in a new team. You'd want to ask yourself, why a new team in 1 week's time? Possibly the other team has failed, or their failure has been caused by the insinuations being driven around partly by such a media house.
Okay. On this matter now, when the match happened on Friday, what was the intention of the match, and what were you guys looking to achieve?
On Thursday, the Law Society of Kenya, through its leadership, under the leadership of President Faith Odhiambo, called on all members of the Law Society to participate in a match in their respective branches to call on speedy investigations into that gruesome murder. I was fortunate to participate in that match while in Nairobi. It happened in all other places across the country, including here in Mombasa. And our rallying call was that we want to be told what caused this murder. Lawyers operate in a very different way, because for us, the Law Society of Kenya is like NAT for teachers. It's what takes care of our welfare and our general well-being. So when one of us has been befell with such a calamity, we have always stood by the family of one of our colleagues to call on justice to be served. So our rallying call during the march was to have speedy investigations. At the end of the march in Nairobi, we presented a petition at Vigilance House, where the police is being housed. We were received, and the petition was received, and the call was the same, that we are tired of lawyers being killed. We are calling for speedy investigations, and we want to know. Basically, that is the whole point. We want to know why him, why he had to die in that way, and if any other motive would have caused such a death to be brought to our attention.
All right. Now, when you say why him, I want to take you to, again, still last week still. There was a breakdown of the kind of murders that we have seen, right? Before that, we had MP Ongondo Were, right? Was also shot, right? And then we've also seen we saw the murder of Jacob Juma, and then also Msando.
There is Msando. There is that woman who NLC.
Yeah. So we see instances where
there's actually another one from NHIF who was shot at while leaving work.
Yeah.
We have another lawyer by the name Willie Kimani, you remember?
Willie Kimani,
yes.
Was also killed.
We remember that. Yeah. We see instances where people get murdered, and then there's a lot of fuss about it when it happens, but then it dies down completely. What is going on with our investigative agencies?
I've always held a position that we have a police service that is well trained. If they want to work, they will always work. If you remember when the late Ngondo Were was killed, the events preceding that unfortunate event were different as compared to the events that have preceded the killing of Mr. Mbobu. You'd want to ask yourself why. Because
could you compare the two?
You would. Ngondo Were was killed while on his way home, just like Mr. Mbobu, while in traffic, right? 2 days later, there were arrests. To this date, there are people who have been charged in court, and the case is ongoing. A week after Mr. Mbobu was killed, as we speak now, there is no suspect in custody. Those who had been arrested have all been released because further investigations have proved they had no link with the incident. So I would say, when the police want to work, they will work. When the police don't want to work, most times they will just move around. When you remember what happened before Jacob Juma died, he had posted of his fears with his life. No action was ever taken. And even after he died, to date, persons who had been mentioned by Jacob Juma while still alive have never been questioned. And we know those persons, right? So it tells you, if the police want to work, they will.
They will work.
If they don't want, they will not. Because we needed to have seen someone being questioned during or after Jacob Juma died. Even if the matter wouldn't have gone to court, we should have seen someone recording a statement. But to this date, we all we do is to share those tweets where Jacob Juma is saying so and so is after my life, many years after Jacob Juma died.
Why are we seeing such loud silence?
I think if I would casually say it matters who you are for the police to.
But you would say, one would say this actually, with the MP, one would say this is a prominent person. With
exactly.
Lawyer,
and that's why I'm saying, it matters who you are. If it is an MP.
Plus the lawyer himself, anamingo with the big wig. So he's a big person in the society, not in the law society peke yake. Plus pia kwa serikali alikuwa very important person to the extent that uone speaker of the Senate because he alikuwa among the very first people.
The late Mbobu also held the position of the chairperson of the political parties tribunal.
You see,
which is a very influential position. Yeah.
So it's not different kutoka kwa MP marehemu MP.
Anytime we speak about the National Police Service, we always follow it up in quick succession with politics. And even during campaigns, one of the promises by the Kenya Kwanza government was to
make it independent.
Yes, and to exercise the autonomy of the National Police Service so that they wouldn't take instructions from anyone. And as the Swahili saying would go, lisemwalo lipo, why would politicians every other time scream that the National Police Service is independent? you get
if it really
indeed
is.
yes, no one has ever claimed the teacher service commission is not independent. It's just silent. But the fact that they always want to shout and promise how the National Police Service will be independent, it tells you
that it
the independence is lacking. It might be that yes, Mr. Mbobu held a position previously, but was he on the right side of the politics of the day, so that someone would call the shots and call persons within the DCI and the National Police Service to call for investigations? If the answer is no, then possibly that's why we are here now.
Okay, wakili, mimi swali langu linakuja. Umemtaja wakili Kimani, kila nikikumbuka na nasikitika kwa sababu nilikuwa na rafiki ambaye yuko karibu naye. Alihuzunika sana. Una huyo wakati I think kulikuwa na wakili Kimani and then there was another wakili pia, na mlienda barabarani with the same theme ni purple, right? Ile?
Yes. Purple ribbon.
Juzi tena the same thing.
Yeah.
Does it mean that mawakili kila hii kitu ikihappen tutaona tena na hizo ribbons za purple na nini, na hakuna end results? Wakili Kimani alienda na hiyo story ni kambe tumesha sahau. Kuna huyo wakili mwingine pia alienda, tumesha sahau. Hii ni kama ambaye tutasahau hii. Na Fridays mtaenda na hiyo procession na march muende kama venye imeenda Vigilance House pale. Niliwaona. But results ni zipi? Because hakuna results.
Maybe labda nijibu kwa Kiswahili.
Yeah, yes. It's okay.
Okay. Jambo la kwanza ni kwamba kazi ya wakili inamweka wakili kwa njia ya hatari siku zote. Manake unapowakilisha mteja wako kotini, kuna urahisi wa upande ule mwingine kuchukulia kwamba pia wewe ni umejumuishwa kwa ile shida ya mteja wako. Na siku nyingi itakuwa kwamba kama kuna majanga yote itakuwa amepangiwa mteja wako, kuna uwezekano pia yatakufikia. Ukiangalia ile kesi ya Willy Kimani, Willy Kimani alikuwa amechukua kesi kwa njia ya pro bono, ile pasipo kulipisha, ili atetee yule mteja wake kupata haki. Lakini wale washtakiwa ama washukiwa wakati ule walipoona kwamba kesi itawalemea, ikakuwa rahisi kwao kuona kwamba tukimtoa Willy Kimani labda ile kesi itayumba wakose mwakilishi, kisha koti iweze kuachilia. Na ni sababu hiyo labda ndo unaona, na hii ni kudhania tu, ni sababu hiyo inaweza kuwa inaletea kuona majanga kama ya mawakili. Ingawaji kifo cha Bwana Mbobu bado tunangojea tujulishwe ni kipi kilisababisha kifo chake. Lakini tukiangalia mauaji kama ya Willy Kimani yanaweza kutupatia ile indication ya kwamba nini inaweza kuwa imefanya wakili akauliwa. Mara nyingi ni wa Kenya ama wateja wanapata ugumu kutofautisha kwamba huduma za wakili ni huduma tu. Sisi ni watetezi wa haki, ni maafisa wa koti, na tunasaidia umma kuwasilisha kesi zao na masuala yao kotini. So huenda hiyo inachangia sana kuona wakili yako kwa conflict na the other side, sometimes even more than the client, because client atakupea kesi na aende zake, but wewe ndio unaendelea kukorespond na the other side kila siku, wakiandika barua unajibu. Wakiona umefinya sana, wanaweza dhania labda tukimuondoa huyu labda kesi yao itaenda vizuri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now ndo kitu ambacho mimi nasema, unaona kama vile wa Kenya walipochoka na story inaitwa finance bill 2024.
Yeah.
Tuliingia barabarani. Tukaenda barabarani. Baraza la mawaziri likaondoka. By that time wakaondoa pia mswada wa fedha. But tukaambiwa December waliipitisha. So kama mawakili, nyinyi mawakili mkiongozwa na rais wenu ambaye ni Faith Odhiambo, right? Mpaka lini tutaona mmesimama na kutoa kucha kwamba this enough is enough. Tumechoka kuona wenzetu wakipitia hii kadhia, wenzetu wakipoteza maisha eti kwa sababu ya yeye ni wakili ama kwa sababu pengine ya mteja au vitu kama hivyo, because uhai wa mtu kuondoka ni mapenzi ya Mungu, lakini sio kwa kulazimisha.
Ndio.
So nyinyi kama mawakili kwenye central organ yenu hapo katikati, and I'm glad wewe ni treasurer kama sijakosea wa LSK Mombasa Law Society. Mkikaa hapo mnawaza nini kwamba hivi vitu lazima vikome?
Members of the Law Society of Kenya do not operate in a vacuum. Or even the leadership. We need all the other agencies and mostly government agencies to work hand in hand with the Law Society of Kenya, so that we realize some of the agendas being advanced by the Law Society of Kenya, which include members' welfare. The situation we find ourselves in when such incidences happen is that, for example, what we just spoke about earlier, when the police are reluctant or are not as efficient as we would expect them to be when investigating such matters, it becomes a challenge. So that after we've presented our petition to the police, say at Vigilance House, as we did on Friday, we expect that the police pick up our petition and move with speed to do that which they expected to do under the Constitution. When there is a breakdown in that chain, where we are trying to follow up and get to know what caused this gruesome murder, then it becomes a challenge for the Law Society of Kenya, because what more can we do? We do not have the skills or the knowledge to investigate by ourselves.
Your hands are tied.
Kabisa. We cannot do extra other than marching. Say possibly we would escalate it to protesting, but it ends at that. Once you protest and the day ends, can you protest for a whole week?
No.
You can't.
And a whole month?
No.
Can you protest for a whole year? It is until that government agency takes its job seriously, and possibly the seriousness they employ while investigating will deter future offenders of the law with regard to killing lawyers or even anyone else in the public.
Will you ever see, because we've mentioned some of the cases that we've seen people get murdered and they're still unresolved, right?
Yeah.
Would we ever see a space where investigation is done conclusively?
In those murders that are yet to be?
Yeah.
The Willie Kimani case was concluded. We have persons who are serving jail term. Some actually on life sentence. That is one that I can't remember. Of course, we have very many other killings that are never made themselves to court, actually.
Yeah.
From way back when Moi was the president, we've learned of the late Robert Ouko, former minister, to these times when Mr. Mbubu is being killed. So the answer to your question would be yes and no. Some cases would be investigated and persons found culpable will be charged in court. Some would be dragged and possibly the trail will be lost, and that will be it. And I'm sure when we say this, we have a lot of other cases that we can think of, including that one of Jacob Juma where no one was charged.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it, like, because I'm thinking if the people in power cannot even protect themselves and see. I'm thinking about the common mwananchi. Yeah. Like, what does that even say about?
Last week, there was an advert by Nairobi City County on the newspaper where they were calling people to collect unclaimed bodies. I took time to go through the information posted on those 2 pages, and you would realize most of the persons on the advert had been killed by mob justice. And we would say their families do not even know that their loved ones died. So the bodies have stayed in government mortuaries for say a year, and now they are calling on members of the public to claim them, or the county will dispose the bodies. The question I asked myself when I saw that advert was, where are the police when mob justices are happening all over Nairobi? Okay?
Yeah.
Because, like hundreds of names, mob justice. It means there is a culture of lawlessness that is in our society, which can only be stopped by the police, but it's not being stopped by the police. So that if today I am found to be, or rather I'm suspected to have done an offense, even by the time, say, members of the public decide to take law upon themselves, there should be a police officer responding, say, in a couple of minutes to save someone. So if your question is what the members of the public will do, and I have just said the police would work when they want. And by the way, I think people in power will protect themselves. Unlike how you put it, that they are unable to. It's only those who have not, who have fallen out of the favor of the government of the day
that will suffer.
And this suffering is not to the extent that, say, we would protect the death.
Yeah.
That the death might happen even if you're on the government side. But if you're on the government side and you've been killed, your investigations will bear fruits. If you're not, then
now could it be hili swali sijui utalijibu vipi, that tuchukulie mfano anaitwa nani ule mbunge mwenye alifariki Ngondwere. Kelele zilikuwa nyingi from every quarters. Mmoja wao alikuwa Gladys Wanga, alirap vibaya sana nini presidency na nini hapo. Is it that haya mauaji hayakuwa na that push ya hiyo magnitude, that's why yanaenda hivi pengine? Just
I think where we are as a country, we have made a decision to politicize everything. Hata before nikujibu hiyo swali, tuangalie how development is being shared in the country. You hear the president has ferried people to State House to talk about development. Then you wonder, I thought development is discussed in cabinet, then taken to parliament for budgeting, then it's done without anyone going to State House.
Hata nyumba zinagawanywa.
Exactly.
20%.
So it tells you we have put so much reliance on politicians as opposed to the law. So that if development was to be planned, we would say let a bridge be done in Tana River, a road in Kakamega, some factory in Meru, where the whole country will feel the government is doing something. But you hear politicians say, mkikataa kuongea na rais shauri yenu. Nyinyi sisi tumeamua kushirikiana ndo tupate maendeleo. Even without kushirikiana, maendeleo needs to flow. That is the same contrast I am attaching to the question you're asking. So that when the late Ongondowere died, you remember among the sentiments pushed by Gladys Wanga, governor for Hombe, was that kama ni hivyo hata hii mambo ya broad-based ikae.
Wacha ikae.
So what she did, she threatened the existence of that dalliance between the opposition and the government. And when, of course, we know who is benefiting more from that arrangement, it's the government. Because the opposition came in and stabilized the government. If the opposition was to walk out today, the government fails instantly.
Oh, now I get it.
You know?
She's now, the chairperson, national chairperson of ODM.
So she was speaking as herself and also the position of the party. That we would put, if our member is being killed and the government is not doing anything, we will leave. And of course, at that, you can suspect persons within the government had to make calls and ask the police, hey, help us solve this one, because it is eating into the well-being of the government. Compare that with the late Mbobu. Who is calling out for him? The LSK.
LSK peke yake.
Even the media is posting rumors.
Here and there.
You know.
Even the speaker mwenyewe in statement.
Just a condolence. Even the Chief Justice, on behalf of the judiciary, sent a condolence and a call for quick investigation. No one is threatening the government with this death. By now, something different would have happened if there was a political hand in calling for speedy investigations.
Okay. What changes do you feel like need to be made at the National Police Service to ensure that justice is served?
Prior to this government coming into office, we had called for the operationalization of the National Police Service Fund. but I even don't think that would solve it, because we have just learned of the micromanagement still happening even after the police were given the autonomy to operate their fund. We have seen the CS ask the police to shoot people, something that shouldn't be happening. We have seen the president do the same. And if you can ask someone to shoot members of the public, you can equally ask them not to investigate some things, or to investigate and achieve a certain ending. Okay? So until there is political goodwill...
So you're saying it's compromised beyond repair?
No, we have an option.
What's the option?
2027. You bring in a leader who will respect the law. You bring in a leader who will understand that the police needs to be left to operate by themselves, so that they work for the opposition and the government. The National Police Service should not be made to be seen as an agent of the government. It should be an agent of the public. So that today, if a politician is found in some trouble that needs the police to take action on, they do that. If a member of the public suffers some mischief and they need help, the police come in. If a member of the opposition, irrespective of your leaning, your tribe, any other thing that would be used to discriminate anyone, until we get a leader who understands that. Just like we had the conversation here on devolution, until you get a leader who understands devolution needs to be allowed to work, we will always be between the National Assembly and the Senate and the High Court discussing how much needs to go to the counties. Someone is proposing to reduce the amount when we should be seeing it being increased. So that can only be solved at the ballot. In between here, because the judiciary would be another place to find solutions. But what you do tell the judiciary now? Would you have any evidence that the National Police Service has been compromised not to investigate this matter? You wouldn't. So the High Court only, or rather the courts of law, operate with evidences tabled before them. Even the court will possibly imagine that it's happening, but they can't give you a declaration in your favor without any evidence that clearly someone is micromanaging the National Police Service.
Okay. We are speaking to, or rather we have been talking to Titus Mukanzi. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, he's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and partner at T. Mukanzi Advocates and treasurer MLS. Man, from us to you, we want to say adios, because it's been a good Monday, good start of the week.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
We had fun with the MCA. We have brilliance with the advocate.
Oh, you said you had fun with the MCA.
I hope he isn't listening.
You had fun with the MCA.
We had fun.
Yeah. You did your words, not mine.
We had fun.
Yeah.
That one, he can take me in a court of law. I have Titus.
All right. Sisi tumemaliza. We are saying adios. Remember, tomorrow is also Legal Tuesday. We will have another advocate of the High Court, and tomorrow specifically we're going to look at children matters. Okay, so do stay tuned. Do have a good morning.